So 2 days ago, no, it was yesterday actually. Anthony Fauci's at it again. He says, CNN breaking news reports, it's impossible. It's possible, Americans will need to wear masks in 2022, which is next year, even as the U.S. may reach a significant degree of normalcy by year's end. And of course, here's Anthony Fauci with two masks on now, since that's what the science apparently says by using simulations. Reported from Washington, Dr. Anthony Fauci says Sunday that it's possible Americans will still need to wear a mask in 2022 to protect against the Modelo virus, even as U.S. may reach a significant degree of normalcy by the end of this year. Asked by CNN's Dana Bash on the State of the Union whether he thinks Americans will still need to wear a mask next year, he said, I think it's possible that that's the case. And again, it really depends on what you mean by normalcy. Basically, if it ain't no return to normal. Continuing on, Fauci told Bash that while he can't predict when the U.S. might return to operate, makes all these other predictions though, return to operating as it did before the pandemic took hold. He thinks by the end of this year, we're going to have a significant degree of normalcy beyond the terrible burden that all of us have been going through the last year. So Jesus, Fauci has said that you may have some sort of freedom, in limited capacity by the end of the year, maybe quite possibly so. As we get into the fall and the winter by the end of the year, I agree with President Joe Biden completely that we will be approaching a degree of normalcy, said Fauci, who serves as Biden's chief medical. How this guy has a job, I have no idea. Mask wearing is critical, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, let's see what else he said. We know that for sure. Wait. Fauci also weighed in Sunday on suggestions by researchers in Israel and Canada that just one dose of the vaccine was needed to protect against the virus, saying the science points directly towards continuing what we know about the clinical trial, which is that 2 doses. You get 2 vaccines, guys. Says also, we know for sure that when you give a prime with the Pfizer followed by a boost 21 days, that you get a 94 to 95% efficiency, and the difference between the level of antibodies after 1 versus 2 is tenfold higher. I ain't taking that shit, so none of this even matters, but I'm just giving this for you guys for information. Says also, and that it is really important because when you have that high degree of comparable to single dose alone, that's the cushion that you would like to have when you get a variant that isn't as well protected against by the antibodies induced by the vaccine. So much like the flu and all that, like you're guessing what variant it is, but you have enough, but you have to have a level to be able to prevent at least severe disease by pumping it into you. That's interesting. Look, I've always thought that it was weird that people are clinging on to this man's every single word. I mean, he flops. He takes one position, takes both positions, so he always comes out on top. He's still being listened to despite being wrong on so many different things. But it's just bizarre to see not just the media fawning over this man and it's just because of his position, but he comes out of nowhere. He's a household name now because of this whole situation. And despite being as wrong as he's been, we're expected to listen to him. And it's just bizarre that the state of the entire country has to be dictated by way of him. And I'm sure there's other people involved that are either under him, but ultimately it seems like, hey, well, Fauci said, therefore we must do it. It's so weird. It's so weird, but it does go to show, as I've been saying since 14 days or before that was even a thing. I told y'all that there's nothing temporary about any of this. You've given them some sort of power. You might have been scared But you're giving them some sort of power that they have absolutely no plan on giving back. So even if they do try to give you back some sort of concepts of freedom, it's not going to be nearly to the same capacity as they did before, because they don't release power that you give them. That's not how the government works, not how the state works. They've never operated like that. You've shown them now that all it takes is something with a 99% survival rate for most demographics, particularly ages under 70, in which you're talking about 99% survival rate. That's all it takes. And then at that point, they can throw out all logic out the window. Did we have react like this with any other virus that it came about? No H1, no, swine flu, Ebola, none of that. Never did any of that. And then we just out of nowhere decide that nobody is supposed to get sick ever, and that if you go outside in the event that there's a sickness that floats around, you may kill someone, which is something that would happen prior to this whole pandemic thing. I know I'm repeating myself, but I have to, because there's always going to be some idiot that watches this video and says this is different. No, it's not. I guess it's different in the case that, well, they're telling you to do something that they never told you to do, that doesn't hold any sort of logic prior to when we started this bull crap back in March, and they just started setting arbitrary rules and mandates and all sorts of things to try to contain this virus, which we did that never. And now they gave you a vaccine. They said it's 15 days slow spread. Oh, wait a minute, that's going to turn into a year. Wait till the vaccine. Oh, wait a minute. You got a vaccine? Nope, sorry. You're still gonna have to wear a mask. You're still gonna have to do this social distancing and all this other stuff. They have no desire to pull back on the power that they have. So you wonder why I always say it is most important that through a hard time, the hardship, when you hold the ground, hold the line, and actually become as principled as you possibly can, because that's when that stuff gets tested. And in the event that you decide, well, okay, this is different, we'll give you some leeway, they take that inch all the way. And now it's a mile. It's this lengthy, it's a mile now. And thanks to a lot of you guys who were scared, but you see what we're dealing with government. See, this is why the one size fits all was always a mistake. It was always a mistake, and it was always going to end up like this. And people that like myself, it's not like I'm clairvoyant. People like myself who had long said, doing videos when this stuff first came out, like, y'all need to relax. No, they scared you. They pumped all of this bull crap into your mind, and they scared the living crap out of you to where you now want to live in a bubble, and it doesn't even make sense. Doesn't follow any sort of logic. Not consistent in terms of it from an intellectual standpoint. Logical consistency doesn't exist. It's not a thing. But they got you, and you gave them that power, and they have no desire to give it back.